Karyn Bryant for MMA H.E.A.T. I'm here with Dana White, UFC President. First and foremost, did you have a good Christmas?
I had a great Christmas.
What was the #1 toy the kids got?
Oh, God. They got I guess if you had to pick, in my opinion, they got those little pocket rocket motorcycles, like the real ones, gas-powered little motorcycles. I don't know. If you ask me, that's probably the best gift they got. They probably have another one, but...
Yeah. It's all right. That sounds like a good one. Now, I do want to revisit something we talked about during the press conference. I brought up Cain's brown pride tattoo. A lot of people have a problem with it. They basically say, I can't have the equivalent. I can't have one that says white pride. What's your take on that?
Completely different. Anybody, let me tell you what, if you're saying I should have a tattoo that says white pride, that tells us where you're at right off the bat, okay? Number one. What brown pride means, he's proud to be Mexican. He's proud of his heritage. You can put on it, if you're Italian, or if you're, like I said, I grew up, when I lived in Boston, you had guys with Italian this, Irish that, everybody had a tattoo on themselves of their ethnic background. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Cain Velasquez having a brown pride. To even make that statement, you're probably some redneck hillbilly out in the middle of some country bumpkin somewhere, and we know where you're at and what you're thinking.
You did mention that Mexico didn't take off as well as Brazil did initially, and that you're working on that. So how important would it be, though, to the progress there if we did have somebody like Cain as champ?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously big. He has a huge Mexican following. Anytime this guy goes on any of the Hispanic channels just for an interview, the numbers are off the chart. So he has a huge following. People love him.
Well, I will say, I get the Globo channel at home now, the Brazilian channel, and I see Cain, Big Nog, all these guys are, Junior rather, on the channels, Anderson all the time. I mean, they definitely have publicized it a lot. So what are your efforts in getting the growth in Mexico? What do you think you can do to sort of help that groundswell?
It's about getting the right television deal. Like every place that we've gone, people keep asking, why didn't you do this? Why aren't you here? Why? We will never. And I mean never have, even in the bad days, and never will in the good days, cut a bad deal.
All right, well, that bodes well, I guess, for the international places that are trying to get your business. Where will we be going in the coming year that you haven't been before?
God, well, we're talking about going to Puerto Rico. We're going to India. We're really working hard to get into all these new countries. Every year we take this thing to the next level and get into markets that we haven't been in. So right now that's all we're really focused on. China was an absolute home run. It was a really big show for us, and we're doing big things in China right now.
I want to talk about some of the fighters in the card. Obviously, we have Melvin Gillard and Jamie Varner back on. Can you talk about what went down a couple weeks ago and why that fight couldn't happen?
Varner got sick literally the night of the event, and he still wanted to fight, but the doctors would not let him. He was throwing up like the Exorcist backstage, and so we threw the fight over here, which is great for the fans. I love this undercard. The card that's on FX Saturday night is awesome, and we got a great undercard for the pay-per-view. It's going to be good. I
want to talk about Chris Leben. He's back. Does the UFC have a 3 strikes policy, or how's it working with Chris since he's had a couple of incidents?
Yeah, I love Chris Leben, man. Me and him go way back from season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter. I'm always going to have, a special place in my heart for the guys from season 1. I consider them all responsible for everything that happened and us being where we are today. Chris Leben, listen, season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter, you knew what you were getting with Chris Leben. He's a kid who battles demons, a kid who has the right intentions and wants to get his life in the right place, and I'm going to be one of his allies for life in trying to help him, keep control and keep his life on track. I like him. He's a warrior. I respect the way he fights, and there's no such thing as this many strikes for me with people that I care about.
And the same obviously holds true for Nick Diaz, different situation, but he's getting the fight that I believe pretty much everybody wanted. How's the feedback been to you after the announcement that George wanted to fight Nick?
Yeah, that's the reality. It's the fight that Georges St-Pierre wants right now. So, yeah, the feedback's been good. Johnny Hendricks wasn't too happy about it, but other people were, and I don't disagree with Johnny. He's had a good run, and this thing ends up turning into like a welterweight tournament, so it'll be a fun show.
By design, there's a lot of guys on there that, if need be, can step up.
Yeah, that too, yeah. if Diaz goes off the off the grid, we can put somebody else in the fight.
Hopefully he won't. People love him. And lastly, I just kind of was curious. Obviously the sport is growing so much, and you have so many more fights every year. But I do wonder, is it more difficult, or is it getting a little easier for a fighter to get into the organization? Because certainly the level of competition keeps going up, but at the same time there are more slots available.
Well, there's more people now. There's more people training in mixed martial arts than ever, and every year it gets bigger and bigger. So I don't know if it's easier to get fighters than it ever was. I think that the amount of fighters has grown proportionally with the sport as the sport continued to grow. I actually think it's been perfect.
Yeah. And last question, actually, how was the Chili Peppers concert? Because I was in Australia with the guys. I'm like, Joe, Bert, tell me, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? And they didn't tell me.
Yeah, nobody knew. When we do these Christmas parties, me and Lorenzo get together and we figure out who we want to get. I've been working on the Peppers for 2 years. First of all, they've never done anything like that in the history of the band. And I got Flea and Anthony to kind of get together and figure this thing out, and they did. And let me tell you what, they came in there. It was the most amazing setting. The room was smaller than this, and they played like they were playing for 20,000 people. It was awesome.
They're amazing. Well, I've seen them for years. I remember, not to date how old, I was 12 at the time, but I saw them when Hillel was still in the band. I mean, the Peppers go way back. They are awesome, and I know I've seen Anthony at the shows, and I know he's a fight fan.
Well, the other thing that's cool is I've been a huge fan of the Chili Peppers since I was a kid, and as you start to meet people who you've admired, or somebody who's a celebrity, it's really cool when you meet somebody that you admire that's worth admiring. And they're those type of guys. They are the nicest, most down-to-earth, respectful, amazing human beings you will ever meet. And when I say human beings, they're amazing human beings. They do lots of things for other people. They care about other people. There's a lot of people you can, like Justin Timberlake's the biggest douchebag that I've ever met in my life. But you meet all these other people out there that are really cool, down to earth, good human beings.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you, Dana. Thanks for your time, and happy holidays. Congrats on, I know it was a rocky year.
Yeah, it was a rough year.
But congrats on your success, and best to you in 2013.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've